how do you find good deals on the MLS in today's market? Now, I'm sure you hear the gurus tell you that, hey, if you want a deal, you got to find it off market. By off market, they mean off of the MLS. Now, these gurus are going to tell you that all the homes that you see on the MLS are overpriced, with sellers that are totally unrealistic about what their home is really worth. And you're trying to figure out a deal that's going to actually pencil and make money, right? So on top of that concern, the overall economy and worries about rates, has a lot of people kind of nervous about dipping their toes deeply into looking for a new deal. But perhaps this is a good time. Perhaps this is the time that you kind of take a second look at those custom searches that either you set up yourself on one of the online sites, or maybe a realtor set up something for you and you've been frankly ignoring them because you believe in that adage, there's no good deals found on the MLS. But now in today's video, I'm going to share 5 tips that may allow you to get more out of those listings that are coming in your inbox every week or every day. Now, if you are pressed for time and you don't really have it to be driving block by block looking for deals or sending out lengthy direct mail campaigns and the way people normally do to dig up those off-market deals, you'll want to stay tuned and watch the rest of this video. Now, before I dive into those 5 tips, I do want to introduce or reintroduce you to this channel. So I'm Veronica Woods, and welcome to the Real Estate Wisdom channel, where I provide market updates about real estate going on in the Philadelphia and suburban Delaware County areas, as well as provide tips about how to build and scale a profitable rental property portfolio. So if that sounds great, you're going to want to hit the subscribe button to find out when the next video is published first. Or you may want to look down in the description area and get on the email list, because I provide tips outside of YouTube as well. And I have a freebie or 2 that may help you on your real estate investing journey. So let's try to put our arms around how many deals happen off market anyway. So according to the National Association of Realtors, roughly 10% of homes each year are sold directly by the seller without an agent. So that's a good proxy of what we can call by off market. Now, how did these sellers find their buyers? 28% of them, it was word of mouth by a family member, friend, or neighbor. And another 20% of those sold were from a sign in the yard. So despite all the mystique about finding these off-market deals, quite a bit, even with investors, are done with an agent. Now, it may be a great strategy to use your personal network to find those off-market deals, but wouldn't it be nice to have really good deal flow from the MLS? And that's what we'll jump into with my 5 tips. The number 1 tip I would give you to get more out of the MLS would be to build an actual relationship with a realtor in each of the markets that you want to buy more property in. And by relationship, I don't mean a quick random text or email saying, I got cash, do you have anything? And as an agent, I can't tell you how many times I get those texts. Sometimes they don't even have a name on it. So it's like, here's a stranger that's asking me to help them make money. Like, does that sound like it makes sense to you? You really want to look for someone, and it may take an interview process, and you may have more than one because you may be looking at different sides of town and you want to pick out people who are experts in different areas. So, there's different schools of thought around how many you actually need. But you want someone that's really going to view you as not just a transaction, but somebody that you're going to build a relationship with and that you're both making money together. And it's not enough to call the listing agent and say like, hey, I don't have an agent. Do you want to represent me? You can keep both sides of the commission. Secret. We know that there's always the opportunity that we can keep both sides of the commission. But we have a fiduciary responsibility to the seller to get them the best price. So kind of when you lead with that, sometimes as an agent or as a broker, I'm kind of questioning that, you think that I'm going to compromise my integrity with you or anybody else. So that's really not the right framework to build a relationship with an agent. Now, if you do want to have an authentic relationship, you'll want to kind of just be out front in one state that you're looking to have a relationship, not a transaction. And you're open to talking to them about your criteria, what your goals are. You want to kind of understand how we could potentially work together. All these things in the conversation will give me a clue or be a cue for me that this is somebody different, that this is somebody that I want to, look for deals for on the side. Once we have that kind of relationship, I may be sending you deals unsolicited that I think may fit your criteria. I may put you on a private list that I'll send. Maybe I have an upcoming listing before I send it to the world. I'll send it to my private list of folks before it goes live. So these are the things that I do for people who I have a relationship with. So again, it's not just a transaction. You don't want to be a random investor. You want to really stand out by somebody that you want to be in partnership with and present yourself that way to a potential realtor. The second tip is monitor the more seasoned listings. I know there's quite an urge to kind of check out what's new on the MLS. But when a listing first comes to market, most of the time the sellers or even the agents don't really have proof that it's overpriced. But once it gets to be 30, 60, 90 days on the market, most likely, especially in the recent times, there's a pricing problem. So the seller will probably be more open to negotiating on price once the market has already told them, even if they didn't make any changes, that it's ripe for a price discussion. Tip number 3 is to monitor actual price adjustments. When a seller and agent decide to adjust the price, most likely is after a tough conversation or a coming to Jesus moment, I like to say. And it's a realization of what I alluded to in tip number 2, the market has spoken. There hasn't been enough traction. So please believe that is a tough conversation or decision to kind of make a price adjustment. Maybe in their heads, they were just testing the market and now they're going to go down to a serious price. Who knows? But it definitely is an indication of being more motivated to get their property off the market. The 4th tip I'll share with you is to read the descriptions closely for seller headaches. These headaches are the reason why they're selling, and oftentimes they bring about better deals. So what are headaches? Could be tenants or occupants living in the property. It could be the condition overall of the property. And sometimes you'll see that in the wordings, gut rehab must bring a flashlight, definitely a signal of a gut rehab, or by the lack of photos. For our area, for the Bright MLS, you have to have at least one photo. So now it could be a lazy realtor. Okay, I will be quite honest. Or it could be the condition of the property is not going to look good in photos, and they're scared about that, and they don't want to deter somebody from going out. So lack of photos definitely is a sign that maybe it's worth looking at if the other elements of your criteria are met. Or maybe it's an estate sale. So usually estates, if they're selling it right away, maybe they don't have either the time or money to keep the house, and that will be a motivating factor. So if you learn about the different dynamics of any of these, either a gut rehab, dealing with tenants, or, buying from somebody within the state, those could be opportunities. And a lot of times, some of these keywords would exclude first-time home buyers, for example, from buying a property. So although people think, oh, investors don't go on the MLS to look for properties, there's a class of properties on the MLS with some of these things in the descriptions that only an investor, and sometimes only a more seasoned investor, can go after. The last tip that I'll cover on this video is to position yourself to negotiate beyond just price. There are other terms that are really important, or that may be important to the seller, and if you gloss over those, you will potentially take yourself out of the running for a deal that maybe you can't get. For some reason, when it comes to on market, most people assume that the sellers are thinking only of price, but for off market, there's more room to be creative. That's not necessarily the case because a lot of times the clues kind of come in the description that I was mentioning, those seller problems that I talked about in the fourth tip. So some examples of other deal terms that may put the ball in your favor in terms of negotiation could be offering all cash, offering no repairs, offering to pay the seller side of the transfer tax, being flexible with the presence of tenants in terms of their lease terms. Sometimes, some people, especially if you want to live in the property, then you need the leases to line up for you to take possession, usually tied to financing that you need to be in the property within 60 days, for example, of an owner-occupied multifamily. If you don't have that constraint and you can deal with any sort of lease terms, then that will be less stress for the seller if they're kind of comparing your offer versus someone who wants them to take on want to have the property delivered vacant. So again, all these are terms that could come to the table to allow you to win a deal without having to budge as much on pricing. Before I wrap up, I do want to call out that a lot of times investors known as wholesalers may be kind of marketing the property to their private list as well as non-exclusively marketed on the MLS. So even though they're calling their properties off market, if they're also at the same time looking or having the property available on the MLS, even their listings are on market. Now, if you want to get more insight about how to pick the right agent to help you navigate looking at these on-market deals, you'll want to watch a video that's appearing on the screen now. As always, happy investing. Thanks for watching.